Hello and welcome to the Animazing Podcast brought to you by the Joe Bros. And we are talking about Thus Spoke Rohan Kishibe, the JoJo's Part 4 Diamond is Unbreakable OVA. So, What did you think?
I thought they were interesting. Did you get a feeling that they were like they had more of a horror vibe than the regular JoJo stuff? I don't know if it's just been a long time since I've seen JoJo or like these are just more horror oriented, you know?
Yes. I don't think it's as aggressive as normal JoJo's, but I do feel like it is more horror oriented. And there are a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is, instead of it featuring like the main characters, they're usually just focusing around random people, random schmoes, random nobodies. And that detachment kind of makes it more ambiguous on whether their stories will have happy endings. The other thing about that is they're more anthology based. And from a JoJo's fan point of view, you could also chalk that up to the fact that it's not dealing with stands for once, and that like unknown territory can make things feel a little bit more eerie.
I felt like this was more. How do I explain it? I felt like this really felt more like a bizarre adventure than actual JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like the things, like for example, when like some of the stuff that happened was just so weird. I mean, JoJo is weird, but like when in the one episode when he was with the editor and she was trying to buy the house in that village, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know her manners
scene.
were like, huh?
The corn scene.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I'm just going to give Araki some major points right here. I know what you're thinking, well, what else is new? But these are major points. Araki did what Stephen King and five Stephen King related films failed to do. They made corn intimidating.
That's actually something I was thinking a lot during that episode, which is it's so cool how he can make like the most basic things like so interesting, you know?
Yeah.
Like just having manners. Oh, you stepped on a line. Oh, you didn't hold the cup right. Even in the other episode with like the man who pretty much killed that, you know, that homeless guy, with like the whole throwing the popcorn up in the air, just like little tiny, like just random things like that. But you can like, he makes them have so much suspense, you know, like you don't need to have anything. He doesn't need to have anything big. Like he can just make anything really interesting.
I mean, running on a treadmill? Seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Like, in fact, yeah, it goes for all of them, you know, like, except for the first one. The first one was like really weird, but yeah.
Now, one thing I really did enjoy about this was I love how much it expands like the JoJo's universe. Like, implying that there are more aliens out, like adding more alien stuff, or like introducing like Greek gods, or like spirits in mountains, or like angry spirits. Honestly, I would have loved to see this as like a full-on series. Just like a mangaka traveling to like different locations, trying to like get inspiration for like his manga. And then you just like do the same JoJo's Monster of the Week, but with different like weird stuff. And then throw a singular villain in, maybe like the editor is evil and he wants to use manga to enslave the world and blah blah blah. I mean, that's not this. That sounds nonsensical even for Rocky, but still.
Yeah, I would like if this was made into like a full like series. Usually I'm not even really a fan of anthology series, but I would watch this one for sure just because he knows how to bring the suspense, you know?
Yeah.
And speaking about the editor thing, I thought it was funny how every time like I'm sure it was probably like when he was writing those one shots, it was probably like some inside joke because like every time he mentions the editing department, he just makes them sound ridiculous. Like when Rohan asks like, "Oh, is the editing department buying the house, or does the editing department have a helicopter?"
I have to feel like, okay, so this is the guy who submitted a 7-page beating for one of his manga chapters. So I have to feel like the jokes go both ways.
Yeah. But did you have like any episode that really stood out to you? Like that was your favorite?
So I definitely liked how they sort of built, like, the interests sort of built up on each other. I think my favorite one was the tread. All of them were really good. Like, a lot of them had really good moments. Like, I think my favorite one might have been the treadmill scene. You know, when he was like doing a life or death treadmill race against the avatar of a Greek god. And I really love the intense corn eating scene. That was definitely one of my favorites.
The thing I didn't get about the treadmill episode was, though, like I didn't understand why he started out in like a room in a table. You know what I'm talking about? Like in that dark room. How did he get there? Because I felt like I thought it was going to explain it, but I just didn't get it. How he ended up in that room.
See, I was so. Two things. First, that gym has terrible placement. Why would you have an open glass window, like, feet above, like, on a high-rise building, I'm assuming, and have treadmills in front of them? And, like, no, because think about it. A 20-pound weight was enough to shatter that window. I'm pretty sure a human body weighs a lot more than 20 pounds. And why is it that they only have one remote to shut down both treadmills?
Maybe he was just that strong, you know, he just threw the weight that hard that it broke the window.
Sure. Also, again, like I said, I love how, like, he cemented that there were more than just stands in the JoJo world. Like in part 1 and 2, we established we had like vampires and Aztec fitness gods. It's nice that he sort of brought that back. So, like, just to show that he's not only writing stand stuff, he can write other stuff.
Yeah. And I thought, like, he also was, what was his name again? I forgot what his name was, but, you know, the model guy.
Yeah.
He was also my favorite character. Oh, Yoma. He was also my favorite character in all of the episodes because he's just so funny. Like, like when he told her to leave, like when he told his girlfriend to leave her own apartment, he was like, "Oh, right, it's not your apartment." And then like, and the part where I really actually died laughing was when she kicks him out and then he jumps out the window and she's like, "This is a rental," and then
he turned her entire apartment into a rock climbing wall.
I wouldn't be surprised if he also like turned the side of the gym building into a rock climbing wall too. So he didn't actually die. He was just like probably hanging, climbing down or something.
So, question: yeah. Do you think Stan, like, while not expressly announced or stated, do you think Stans were involved in any of these shorts?
Yeah. Are you? Well, Heaven's Door was involved. Are you talking about for anyone else?
For anyone else aside from Rohan.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like people were. I don't know. Actually, no. I'm gonna say no because I feel like if like, for example, if Yoma was like awakening a stand right through like the whole transformation he was undergoing or whatever, it would have been mentioned. Rohan would have been like, "Oh, he has a stand," you know.
Right.
All those times, Rohan would have been like, "Oh, these are stands." And then there was even one episode. I think it was the church episode, the popcorn throwing one, where someone asked like, "Are you sure those weren't just stands?" Like, you know. And he was like, "No, those weren't stands." So, yeah, I don't think they were stands. But you're right. That does make it interesting though, because it does open up the world of. But you know what though? I don't know if it opens up the world of JoJo, because the world of JoJo is the kind of world where you literally can expect anything to happen anyway. So like,
Yeah.
for me, I was not like, I didn't miss a beat at all when he just like casually mentioned Greek gods. I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, all right, like, yeah, of course. I mean, there's ancient Aztec gods, right? So why not?
I mean, there's Jesus in JoJo, so.
True, although I don't think I got there yet, but yeah.
Now, okay, so about the church episode, do you think Rohan should have helped him out?
I don't know how he could have. I was expecting him to, and I was actually kind of like disappointed with that episode, because I thought it didn't feel like there was really much of a conclusion. You know, it was a very interesting story, but like it was just kind of like, I don't know. I was expecting it to go the way of the other episodes, where like Rohan saves the day in some way at the end of the day, but that didn't happen. Also, Rohan said he was evil. I don't know if that guy was evil. I mean, he was pretty shitty when he was 24 years old, but like, I don't know about all that.
I feel that he is a vanilla dick, meaning he isn't expressly evil, but he isn't a good person. Like, he wasn't acting in malice, he was acting in survival instinct.
Yeah.
Except for like him being a douche and old guy.
Well, okay, so when you say he was acting in survival instinct, what act are you saying?
I would say not really in survival instincts, but like he was acting in terms of survival. Like him getting facial reconstruction with the servant sort of switched places.
Yeah.
Although, like, I will say that him being a douche to the homeless guy was straight up dickish.
Yeah. I feel like that was the only thing in that story that I was like, okay, yeah, you kind of deserve, you know, what you get for that. But with the servant getting facial reconstruction, I mean, I assume he paid him and he wanted to do it, like he accepted, like, you know, it was a transaction. He was like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll change my face.
Like, you have to. I wonder how that conversation went. He's like asking your butler, hey dude, you want to like switch faces with me and live my life?
Also, why didn't the old like homeless guy who was haunting him realize that it had been like decades and his face hadn't changed one bit?
Yeah.
You know?
Like, how did you, like, if he was around him, like, causing him to have all this good fortune, how did he not notice him just going to, like, facial reconstruction?
Or how did he not notice, like, how did the guy who did facial reconstruction not just be like, yo, you have the wrong guy, like, this isn't me? You know? Yeah. That's what I would have done. Like, why would you? And then you go and die, and then you go and blame him. Although I will say, I give him props, because he performed so well under pressure.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was so interesting. Like, I was just, like, imagining, like, if that was me. Like, first of all, throwing a piece of popcorn over a lamppost, that's hard enough already. Like,
yeah,
I would already fail there. But then you have to catch it, and then you have birds trying to eat it.
Like, Araki knows how to escalate stuff. That's something I really appreciate about him. And he does it so organically, too. This honestly had, like, I felt like the writing for this, a lot of it was better than some of the writing in Part 5.
I agree. I totally agree. Like, especially when it comes to, like, the thing that's just most impressive about it to me, like I said before, is the fact that he can make anything interesting. Like, you know, throwing a piece of popcorn, and he can just make it so suspenseful and like escalate it in an interesting way. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Now I will say that the writing for this had, I'm gonna say plot holes, but I use that term in the loosest way possible, because plot holes serve different roles in different different narratives, and the narrative style here, like, the plot holes didn't really matter as much. Like, they were essentially, like, ghost stories or short stories, and honestly, for, like, short format stuff, as long as the plot holes are just like aren't just nonsensical, they seem pretty fine. Especially when they like serve a greater purpose or providing a good payoff.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I feel like that really applies. That really applies to all of Araki's work. Really, like,
Oh yeah.
When we were reviewing part 5, we found so many plot holes, but like, I guess you can't look at his work through that lens. Like, it's just kind of not the point when it comes to JoJo's. Like, that kind of stuff is not the point. And also, when I was watching this, I was realizing, because the first thing we ever, started reviewing was, JoJo, right? And then when that ended, we started reviewing a whole bunch of other series. And I realized when we were reviewing other series that those were a lot easier to review than JoJo. And I think now I realize why. It's because like JoJo just doesn't fit in that structure of like a regular series. Like the way you review JoJo is not like, oh, like there's that plot hole that didn't make sense. Why did that character do that crazy thing? It's not logical. It's like, well, that's kind of the point,
Especially since the other thing is JoJo is a popcorn manga or anime. Like there are series that are meant to be taken super seriously. They're supposed to be like super intellectual, but at the end of the day, like if I had to make a guess, I feel Araki's sole purpose for like writing JoJo's is to write an entertaining manga. The same for like stuff like Naruto or Dragon Ball Z, and that. And when you think about reviewing or rating that kind of stuff, I feel it's kind of unfair to like harshly critique something that the artist himself had absolutely no intention of really refining or focusing on. It's like trying to review the action scenes in a romance series or something.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. It makes me feel like I should like think back on my reviews for part 5 because the way I looked at it is I feel like it's just not the way you should look at.
No, it also depends on the shortcoming. Like it depends on the shortcoming as well. Like if it's something essential to the medium, like a coherent story or dialogue that makes sense, then yeah, you can be like precise and critical of that. But like I said, it's like it has to like be essential to the story. Like you can't really critique Dragon Ball Z about their relationships as much, but you can do something like critique Michael Bay on his overall writing style. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And also the thing I just realized also is that you were saying like he mainly writes like to entertain, and yeah, I agree. And I feel like not only does he write to entertain, but he writes to entertain on a weekly basis, right? Because at least through part 5, he was doing it in Weekly Jump, right? So, and if you look at them like individually, on a weekly basis, I feel like it's much more interesting, like every week. If I guess if you isolate every episode or every chapter, and you don't really think too deeply about it, you're right. It's like, it's fun. It's like a good popcorn show show or manga or whatever. That's honestly, just a fun time,
Honestly, in like taking into consideration that was a weekly show, it's honestly impressive how good JoJo's came out. Because like I said, JoJo's has a very strong fly by the seat of your pants writing style.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of shows that almost always get some sort of like hit or crash or like pitfall from that. Naruto had it, Dragon Ball Z had it, Ruby had it. I'm not sure if One Piece had it, but that's probably in bigger, stronger area of your, it's part of your area of expertise. But while there are like the Araki forgot moments, which again makes sense because Araki said himself he doesn't plan that far ahead. Like he has an end and beginning. He just like runs towards it blindly, sort of.
Yeah.
But even with the Rocky forgot moments, it's like none of them are like upsetting or like frustrating or detract from the series as a whole.
Yeah,
they're literally like those kind of moments where you can just like turn your brain off. They're not
and I
like the
think
whole Uchihas are powered by sadness and they instinctually make themselves more emo. Or it's not like the whole Majin Buu arc where things are just happening because of random reasons and junk. That's not that's not an accurate critique of the Dragon Ball Z Majin Buu arc, but there were a lot of like narrative issues with that.
Yeah, and honestly, the more I think about it, the more I think the way his writing style is really might be very well suited to like that magazine, because like people like long running stories with like big arcs and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Naruto and whatnot.
Mm.
But it is read on a weekly basis, so you want to make it as interesting as possible. So on a weekly basis, so like you have to like strike a balance, and I feel like he kind of hits that balance right on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course, it depends on your taste. Like some people might generally just like slower paced, longer stories, but for the way the story is serialized, like it makes sense that you would write that way, and it's impressive that you would like keep it so interesting. And it really shines when he does a one shot too, because a one shot you get like I don't know, 3 times the amount of space for a regular chapter, so you can tell a longer story, but still it's just like one complete thing, and that's it, right? So
heck, I love these stories more than a lot of the stories they told in like the Junji Ito collection anime.
yeah, I haven't seen any Junji Ito, but I would, like I said, I really would want to see more of this, more of Rohan.
Yeah.
I would want to see more of this, but maybe with another character. Not that I have any problem with Rohan, but like there's so many interesting characters in JoJo that I would want to see, one shots like this of.
Honestly, if he doesn't retire after JoJo's Part 8, I would love it if he took this kind of route, where he just moved away from like stands and just focused on like the overall weirdness of the world.
That's so true. Those would be so interesting. You're right. Like he could do like, like you said, like an anthology where he puts like, I don't know, 5 short stories in a book or something. And those would be so interesting.
Heck, it wouldn't even have to be an anthology. It would just be like a Monster of the Week show with just different weird things.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, he could do that. Yeah. But
yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a least favorite one?
I think they were all really good. I enjoyed all of them, but I think the first episode was probably my weakest.
Wow, we have the exact same taste, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same for me. That was, I mean, I didn't hate it or anything, but it was confusing to me. Not confusing, but it wasn't
as well explained as the others.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, after that episode, I was expecting the next one to continue the story, because the story just felt incomplete. That's the word I'm looking for. It felt really incomplete.
Like if I had to rank them, I would say my favorite is probably the second favorite. Like if I had to rank them, it would be in terms of best worst. I would say second, third, fourth, and first.
Wait, like give the premises of each of them, because people might not have the same numbers as us.
So my favorite one was the mansion with the editor in the mansion episode. My second favorite was the model on the treadmill episode. My third favorite was the man and the homeless person. And my least favorite was definitely the first episode.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mine is the same order, except your first and second favorite are flipped. So my first favorite would be the model episode, and my second favorite would be the mansion.
Awesome.
But yeah, all right. So is there anything else? Any other thoughts you had about these?
How would you rate these?
Ooh, I didn't even think about that. Oh, I would rate these, all of them, 8s or 9s. Okay, let me just go through them. Okay, so for my favorite, which is the model episode, I would give that a 9. That was hilarious. Ironically enough, it's the humor that made me like it so much. Like
Yeah.
it's just those scenes where when he was with his girlfriend, like when he stole her debit card
For protein.
and the protein, yeah, and he's just eating eggs. Okay, so yeah, so that's my favorite. I would give that a 9. Then the mansion village, I would give that an 8. And then the old man, I would also give that, not the old man, the homeless man, the church episode, I would also give that an 8, but like a lower 8. And then for the what is it called, the one with the yokai, I would give that a 7.
Okay.
Maybe 6. I don't know. But yeah, what about you?
I don't have a specific rating for most of them, but I would definitely give it a 8.4.
All right. Well, yeah. So I guess that's it then. That's been our review of the Rohan OVAs. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
Stay safe and take it easy. Bye.